Greetings, everyone. How is your day going? How do you feel today? And how are you feeling just in general? My name is Yuri, also known as Starlord, and today I'm going to continue on with this second ongoing playthrough series done for the game called Grim Dawn on softcore with veteran included. Veteran is the modification on difficulty for the normal difficulty. So you have your regular normal and normal with veteran included, and currently I'm playing normal with veteran included. Now, this is going to be like my second playthrough done from start to finish on stream. The previous one was with Purifier, Dual Pistol, Fire and Elemental, and this time around we are playing with Vitality Pets, Conjurer with Pets. Fairly fast and fairly reasonably strong character. I have high hopes for this build, and it's overall like at the beginning, as I see right now, even though I have to press a little bit more buttons than I did before. It's still not even remotely close to being complex, and it's still fun to use. Fun to use, easy to use, and teaches you a lot about playing as a summoner and how you should, like, what is your game plan when you are playing this kind of character. In today's plan, I have to, planning to finish Act 2. I don't know if we'll be able to do this. Hopefully, yes, because speed-wise, we are currently, outclassing Purifier progression when it comes to how fast we are doing content, despite the fact that we are clearing everything just as usual. Got a lot of hopes for today's stream, and hopefully you're going to also enjoy it. Hopefully you're going to have fun while watching, ask questions if you will going to have any. I will try my best to answer them regarding different aspects of Grim Dawn, although I do not know all of them, or many of them are still unknown to me. I should say, I should phrase it like this, but I'll do my best to help you understand something that you might have problem with, if I will be able to. If not, I will just going to do my best, but if this will not going to help, then excuse me, I'm not like the super professional at this game, so I only can speak about those aspects that are known to me, and at least I know something about them. So in case anything, ask, and I will try my best to answer. Well, with that all being said, I wish you all the best when it comes to watching, enjoying the stream, and let us continue on right from where we left off. I didn't do anything off stream, don't worry about that, you didn't miss anything, and for the most part we are pretty much from where we left off. We are continuing this adventure. The only thing about this build that I'm finding a little bit, I should say a little bit, well, not more of a minus, is that it doesn't have too many pets to support your playstyle. It has only few, but even that few is still better than nothing. And those few pets that we have are already enough to help us out. I already been through all this stuff, although I kind of forgot to open the waypoints. That's why we have to run. Fun fact is that those Shamblers can't really do anything against my character. Not my character, but I should say they can't do anything against my pets. For the most part. Pretty sure that they can blow me up in a couple of those meteors that they can throw, but overall, for pets, they are way tankier against those kinds of attacks. Yeah, I kind of forgot to open that waypoint for some reason. We've been on this side and we completed a quest there. So we need to start going from this side. Now I'm thinking that if I would have played Necromancer with skeletons, I would have like faster time when it comes to clear speed, but my pets would be not even remotely as tanky as those that I have right now. So it depends. It depends on the trade-off. Like, what do you want? More beefier pets or less beefier, more in numbers, but you'll have like more problems when it comes to maintaining their survivability. I've decided to go with this build primarily because to me it's kind of new. Not as a summoner class in general, but as a class combination. I never played this class combination with pets. I played this class combination on dots with two-handed weapon and savagery. So with pets, I didn't try it. I definitely need to get myself later on something that will going to increase the numbers of my Briar turn. Basically, that's one of my pets, up to 2, because 1, although it's good, it's not good enough. 2 is better. But unfortunately, till you reach late game, you're not going to be able to do that. And reducing the downtime on my summon primal spirits would also help. Although, because currently I have to like run around like 12 seconds or so without primal spirits, which is not really that great. Primal Spirit is the one of the huge source of damage in this build. It adds just a whole ton of extra firepower. One thing that I can already say is that even though like currently I'm playing as a summoner, this doesn't mean like I'm not... I still am doing something for my pets, but I also like the fact that I'm tanky, like, because I can also place totem, and because I can, if something, I can hide behind my pets. This will not always going to help you, because sometimes attacks will going to pass through your pets. But in those situations where it does help, it really is great. And just overall class combination with Shaman is... definitely something powerful when it comes to health and tankiness. Oh, he beats Primal Spirit so badly. But that's just about it. He can beat Primal Spirit, but he will not going to be able to do anything, like anything past that, he won't going to do that. I gotta find some decent gear that can boost my pet's attack speed. For pets, having attack speed is super useful, because overall it's probably the best thing that can boost their offensive ability. Two out of 3, gotta destroy one more of those forges to complete the quest. But yeah, technically speaking, just like I said, you will not going to have like very hard time on understanding how this class works. It's super simple, and to be completely honest, it's even more, despite the fact that it has to press more buttons, it's even more simpler to use than Purifier. I'd like to go with... because from here, from Raven, we need to get this thing. And it's going to be 10 more levels till we get in there, so probably I will going to focus more on those things first. Still, the skill recharge doesn't decrease with leveling. Okay, I'm going to focus on this kind of leveling now. Yeah, by the way, as you can see, I am healing from doing damage to my enemies, probably because of this. Yeah, attack damage converted to health. This is another source and reason why I am tanky and I'm capable of surviving. Yeah, because I pretty much apply dots on targets, and as they are receiving damage, I'm capable of healing. As long as they are getting hit, I am healing from it. Which is one of the reasons why Conjurer, just in general, is the class for beginners. Despite having to press a bunch of buttons, it has probably the best healing overall that you might get. And healing that is based just on you apply dots and run around, and you still are being healed. As long as dots are on enemies, you will going to get healed. Which is super important and super useful at the same time. The feeling that I get is that on my items, now I don't know if it works like this, but let's say, for example, we take my mace that I have right now. So that vitality damage that is on top, like vitality damage, vitality decay, physical convert to vitality, it does not going to boost my pets' vitality damage, because for pets, bonus to all pets is what boosts their offense. So theoretically speaking, if an item is going to give like huge benefits to pets, it's on leveling it's going to be more important to me than something that will going to boost my own damage, because I'm here, I am as a support. Like, my job is to apply debuffs and dots, and that's just about it. Like, I'm not the main. I'm not the person who does the job. Like, my pets shoot. This doesn't mean that I am completely useless, but this means that overall I should focus on stuff that boosts pets rather than stuff that will going to boost me. Kinda hard to find something like that for summoners in general. And to also, like, I'm not boosting my, should not like worry too much about boosting my own offense ability, but that same concept does not apply for the defense ability. For defense, I have to make sure that not only my pets, but I am also tanky. The last thing you wanna have is getting blown up by AoE just because your resistances were abysmally low, or your defense or your health were super low, and stuff like that. Luckily for Shaman, health is not an issue. At least it shouldn't be. Almost done with Assassin's Blade. Like one more and we can work on the next devotion. Devotions are a little bit off, I should say. But that's just because I didn't play enough Summoner class to justify on whether or not their usage is that reasonable. Probably it is, but I need more factuals, like facts. In case if you have missed previous part of the walkthrough series, in case you want to revisit walkthrough series that I've done with the Purifier, you can do this easily. Everything is uploaded on our YouTube channel, link you're going to find in the Twitch tab section. Everything is placed in, like every video is placed in a specific playlist for convenience, so that you will not have to search too much. Plus, if you are going to be that interested, there is also a playlist with beginner-friendly content for Grim Dawn, with fairly useful information in there, especially if you are a beginner. At the initial levels, Devouring Swarm is super good as a damage source. Biggest reason why my pets were hit there as much actually comes from the fact that they were standing in the environmental hazards, not the environmental, but basically pools. And for that reason, we are gonna probably have to utilize the attack pets button. I'm gonna place it on Q. I'm not gonna need it as much, or as often I should say, but I will going to use it to move them, if something, just to move them away from hazard area, so that they will not die from it. Remember, they are not receiving any kind of damage from the stuff that is on the ground, I mean ether ground or that kind of stuff, or poison or something like that, but they will going to receive damage from pools that are being created by enemies. Now that I think about it, I think that Necromancer would most certainly be a bit faster when it comes to how well or how fast is he going to clear initial stuff while leveling. And that's just mostly because of the fact that he just has more pets. More pets will mean more offense and way more clear speed. Nice, a bunch of dynamite just from the location itself, so that I will not going to have to worry about crafting dynamite. We are approaching Darius Cronley, Want to see how well this build is going to perform against him. Probably decent. Though I'd have to utilize pet attack commands more often.
Sober.
It's going to be a bit of a pain. He loses quite a lot of HP, but it's because of those ether ground that he creates. Because of that, it's getting a bit harder to maneuver around. Plus, I also cannot really allow myself to stand on one place due to the fact that I don't want to get killed. Okay, gonna have to go and sell stuff. Technically, a bit slower to kill him, but at the same time, not that much of a problem. Lightning, no, we do not need that. We need something like for pets. Bonus to pets, all damage weapon, no. Worse than mine for sure. For most part, we are on self-found gear, by the way. Except 2 rings and Lokarr set, we are all on self-found stuff. We are not like crafting anything. For now. Okay. Nothing interesting at all. I believe on level 45 we change the medal.
Now that we're not.
Okay, level 39. Level 39 means putting more points into here, here. Here, yeah. For the most part, the way you level skills, like, while leveling on softcore is totally up to you. No one is going to hit you or anything like that if you're going to decide to level up stuff a bit differently. Sticking to a pattern is a good thing, but do not worry that much. Okay. Keeping the crystal for myself because this is a very important item to have. It's an item that gives you temporary for like 7 seconds or so, 70% damage absorption. Very good to have, like, just in general. It's a safe tool that you should use in some of those sticky situations where you're feeling like you're not going to be able to survive, and you want to make sure that the chances of you dying are relatively low. Basically a safety measure. Thank you for the following. I'm pretty and honestly hoping that you're going to like your time spent here. Appreciate your help, appreciate your interest, and welcome to the stream. Yes, I already did.
There you are.
It wasn't that like troublesome. I had to move pets a little bit around, but for the most part, the battle against him wasn't anything spectacular. Problem with fighting him is that he throws a bunch of those projectiles that are creating ether ground, and you have to kind of move around, move your pets away from it, because they die to it reasonably fast. Okay, now we are going to do quest from the probably last quest from the faction reputation stuff that we have with those in Devil's Crossing. This area is a little bit tricky because it has a lot of hazardous environmental damage stuff that can kill you pretty fast if you're not going to pay attention to it, to where you stand. But if you will, you should be okay, well, for the most part. Because boss fight can also be a bit tricky. Okay, now... yeah, we need to go this way. It's really amazing that your pets are not getting hit by, getting damaged by environmental damage. Like, I've shown this before, but basically if I stand here, you see my health goes away, but if my pets are standing there, their health is totally okay. It really helps, because otherwise it would be very painful. Because then you would have to worry about also saving your pets from being killed by environment. And it's not the greatest idea. Well, I appreciate that. Appreciate that you like them. For me, it's important so that people would find that kind of content useful and be able to learn something from it. Okay, hit level 40. I guess we put more points into here, and as well as 1 point into here. Almost done with leveling those last abilities on Shaman. Another reason why this area is also dangerous, besides hazardous things on the ground, is also because spiders, not only spiders, but spiders as well as centipedes, just as enemies, they have this a bit of annoying skill that's basically, when they shoot something, it's not just the fact that they shot some stuff at you, it's also the fact that after you kill them, or after they shot, some of them will going to... After some of them, there is going to... On the ground, there is going to be a pool of acid, and those pools can stack, which is really... which is the reason why you lose a lot of health to begin with, because this stuff can stack almost infinitely, and the more you're getting hit by, the faster your health goes down. The same thing kind of happens to pets, though with pets you can resummon them. With if your character dies, you won't have such a privilege. So do keep an eye on where you stand. It's quite easy in most of the cases to just move a little bit away and not to stand in all of that mess that they create. Being precise with positioning, especially as a summoner, is a very important thing. Just as important it is to keep your pets alive, because no matter what, you have a cooldown on your resummoning pets' abilities, so if you resummon and they die again, and you are out of cooldowns, and that also means out of pets to help you, it's going to be 90% of the time it's over. By the way, about that class that I've made my first walkthrough, I'm speaking of my first on-stream walkthrough about the Purifier. Later, I am going to be releasing like some little bit of overview on the class itself, on strong points, weak points, on gear, devotions, all that kind of stuff, and as well as like performance. It's going to be a series of videos where I'm going to be expressing all that information on how I level devotions, on why this thing, why that thing, why pick this gear, is this class gear dependent or independent. Basically all of those small nuances that are just as important as pretty much knowing how to play this class in the first place. Okay, here is your boss room. This boss has several like troublesome things that you have to watch out for. First is this. This dungeon is accessible when you will going to reach faction reputation status with Devil's Crossing, level honored. As you can see, when you open the faction menu and you will going to see like friendly factions, the game will going to tell you what kind of stuff will you going to receive once you reach certain level of honor. This quest is achievable when you reach honored with them, and it's something like level-wise. As you can see, they are level 40, 41. The boss was level 45, something like that. I reached this faction reputation status quite fast with them because of the fact that when you are leveling other characters and you are using those reputation scrolls, you are going to gain increased reputation with factions. I'm going to tell you exact numbers when I will going to get to town. Basically, this scroll is going to boost your reputation gain with that certain faction by a whole lot, and that's why you're going to be able to get to those quests as well as items that they are selling much faster. Okay, so let's see. So those scrolls on honored level, you can get this scroll, which will going to increase your reputation gain with that certain faction by 50%, but this mandate does not stack with the other one, which I'm about to show next. And this mandate, you cannot pass it on other characters. So this one is very important. So once you are going to get one of your characters to like level 100 or so, or basically once you're going to grind reputation with the factions up to revered status, you can buy those scrolls. For your other characters that you are going to level up, just put them, buy a couple of those, put them into your stash, and whenever you create a new character and when you get access to the stash, just use them, and you will gain immediately, like, reputation is gain increased by 150%. This means that on other characters, achieving all of those levels of reputation is going to be much faster. And once you gain honored status, you can complete this quest that I was doing right now. it's pretty useful as well as this thing, like if you want for your other characters to level up faster, this thing is also quite useful for experience gain. This thing for reputation and this thing for experience. Very useful to know where you can get those things. Pretty much every single faction with whom you gain honor has this kind of stuff, so make sure that you will buy enough of those scrolls for all of your other characters that you are about to level up. Okay, putting points straight into physique, because for the most part I guess that we are good to go when it comes to spirit. We have enough spirits to equip items that we want.
Do you have something for me? And it
All right. You mean it doesn't give you a lot of reputation, or you mean about, or are you speaking about experience gain? Because if we speak about reputation, there are multiple ways for you to, like, actually there are a couple ways for you to gain that reputation. If you really want it, like ASAP, if you are desperate to get it, well, those factions, when it comes to items, it just depends on like what kind of character are you playing. Because for some builds, they have some really good items. For some others, they might not have something that will going to satisfy your needs. Most important there is to gain access to the I'm going to show it to you so that it would be more understandable. So
come see what's left of my way.
the main reason why you kind of want to grind, not grind, but to get to those reputation status is to be able to get those powders, as well as later on those stuff that you can apply on your various different gear. So this is the main reason. Items here that they sell can be like from really good to not really that usable. So you might not find really good stuff here, but for the most part it's not the reason why you gain reputation with them in the first place. Those items are like gear items are fairly only usable on some builds, and for some others not really that good. But when we are talking about those augments that you can put on items, they are usable on everything, like no matter what kind of class you play, you will find a need to use them on various different items to max out your resistances later on. And this is kind of important because you're going to have pretty much on every single item you're going to have an augment and a powder if we are talking about later on in the game. So for the most part it's not useless to they are not really that useless. And in case you, I was talking about the ways for you to gain faster reputation. Each faction is going to also have a bounty table. I am not using it on any of my characters, but basically you can do those quests here at the bounty table. It will going to give you quests. You do them and you gain more reputation. If you really want to, you can use it, but I would say there isn't that much need to do that, because while passing through the campaign and while leveling, you're going to max out reputation no matter what. With most faction, your reputation is going to be maxed out somewhere in the second part of the second difficulty. So do not worry, you're not going to miss anything. Genuinely speaking, in this game it's hard to miss some quest unless it's some kind of a hidden quest line. Lokarr sets quest line, for example, the place where you can fight against Lokarr, that's a hidden quest. Or the Crate Entertainment's quest line is also a hidden one. But generally speaking, everything else is pretty straightforward. Especially if you are exploring stuff and not just rushing through from one location to another. At AoE. Definitely am liking this build, but it lacks in numbers. Lacks in numbers of summons that you can get. Which is a fairly noticeable thing, because with Necromancer you go with an army of skeletons and they just so huge in numbers that they can do job faster. a bit faster. But as I said, they are squishy. For now, it's super good that I have this thing maxed out, Devouring Swarm. It's my source of healing, as well as my way of contributing in the fight. Because I cut resistances with it, I also do damage over time, and I at least somehow am capable of helping my pets. Later on, it will lose its efficiency when it comes to how much overall damage you do in the fight itself, but it will not going to lose its efficiency in other aspects, such as cutting down resistances, which is amazing. Thank you for the following, Simiux. I appreciate that. Welcome to the stream. Hopefully you're going to have a great time. Okay. So now that we maxed both of those things, guess it's about time to do it like... start to do it like this. Yeah. Sure thing. Very unfortunate is the fact that I cannot decrease the skill recharge time on Primal Spirits unless I get items that can do that. For the most part, I am focusing more on the beginner-friendly stuff. This is why I am also trying, despite the fact that I'm not... I can say that I am, like, professional in this game. I'm trying to do my best to explain stuff to new players so that they would kind of understand something more about how to play a certain character, or how certain mechanics in this game work. Plus, it's also a great thing for me that I'm picking characters that I never played with, and I also get to learn something new, something that I didn't know before. And it's always great to see that more and more people are getting into this game. More and more people are discovering this action RPG game. It's very, like, very good for the game.
That skill's not ready.
Because the game itself is pretty good when it comes to variability, the amount of content that you get, as well as not that high skill ceiling when we are talking about not that very like high skill, as well as difficulty to like get into the game, to start play it. Yes, there are a lot of mechanics that you need to learn and to get used to them, but with the right approach, it's easy to achieve. It's okay. It's totally okay. If something, you can like take your time and write stuff down. I am not in a hurry or something like that. Nah, it's okay. If you're going to have like more questions related to this game, you can always ask like on social medias or in YouTube comment section under like one of the videos related to this walkthrough. You can always do that. I'm reading most of the comments that people are writing, so I will be able to answer it, or do my best to try and answer it. Kinda completely forgot that I also have a belt that I need to change for level 40. So I'm gonna do that before I enter the dungeon.
See what's left of my wares.
Okay, bonus to all damage, offensive, reduce stun. Technically I can use it just for my pets. to make them more aggressive. Probably the biggest minus that I currently have with wearing the Lokarr set as well as the XP rings. Yeah, they overall give fairly decent boost, except armor-wise. They give fairly decent boost to defensive stats such as resistances. However, and they also give you like +1 to all skills, as well as 40% XP gain. But a trade-off is that, for example, I'm going to pick a summoner, for example. So if I need to boost pets, right? I cannot really do that because of the fact that I cannot, for now, cannot change those items that I have that set, those rings that I use for gaining more experience. This is kinda unfortunate. This is why my pets are being a bit more like weaker. I don't know, I'll keep the shield for now. Don't know if I'm going to use it though, but I'll keep it. So when I was speaking and saying that Lokarr set is not really a necessary thing, and for leveling alt characters, like the characters that you are then planning to use, like you have like 1 or 2 high-level characters, and then you will going to utilize, then you will think, I need to create myself another one, but I want to have like, to see some benefits of leveling them after I already leveled other character to level 100 or so, and then you kind of, to feel that benefits, all you have to do is pretty much to get yourself those potions of clarities and reputation mandates, and that's about it. Like, that's pretty much it. Lokarr set is good, but just for getting way more experience, and that's it. But the trade-off, as I said, is not being able to wear something with high armor, because the thing is, armor on this set will not going to scale. Actually, nothing will going to scale. So the stat that you have on this thing from the beginning, from level 1, it will going to remain like such up until whenever you're going to decide to switch to something else. And that's why I was saying that you don't really need it. I'm using it because that's my first time being capable, where I was able to farm that set as well as to use this set while leveling. So for me, it's more of an experiment rather than anything else. Yeah, when we are speaking about especially beginner-friendly content, there isn't that many for beginners. A lot of builds overviews are pretty much all about what you see in the late game. Super high shards and something like that. And I see that a lot of people actually have an approach where they say that while leveling you don't need to actually know a lot about how to... You don't need to know much about how to level up devotions or how to level up skills, because it's that simple. Well, it is simple for those who know about it, but not for everyone. This game still gets fairly regular updates that are adding something new into the game. For example, they are planning to add a new update. Maybe this month, maybe next month, that will going to add 2 new locations as well as new type of monster totem, as well as a bunch of new quests for those locations and a lot of items. So that's also interesting to know, because the more items, the more experiments you can go. New locations means that they expand the overall map of the game by adding more stuff into it, and just addition of the new content means that developers are not stopping when it comes to creating new content. But I absolutely agree with you that there is not that many videos or content that you can watch that can also help you to figure out some stuff about the game or about certain aspects of the game. People are still playing it, but for some reason not that many things are being like content-wise, players are not making an effort to produce something that is going to be helpful and useful for those new players that are going to get into the game. However, I should say that community in this game is fairly friendly when it comes to like helping others. Or it's just me who thinks this way. I especially had a lot of luck when it comes to trading with other players. Trading for items that I needed for some builds. They say they sell stuff fairly cheap for resources. But yeah, when it comes to beginner-friendly content, it's hard to find. And the stuff that you find is kinda outdated, which is a bit of a pain. You can ask them on forums or maybe join a Discord community. That's some like people have this stuff, or just contact someone in a Facebook group. You can find people to trade. There are a lot of ways to you just need to communicate with other players and ask them like whether or not do they have this and for what do they sell stuff. Maybe you have something that they want and you can give it to them. This can also work. I know that like this game doesn't have specific website, like for example Path of Exile has that, where you can search for a specific item and it shows you like the player who can sell it to you. So you just have to do a little bit more work to find that specific person who has it. Okay, this place is almost cleared. Well, not almost. It's just the first floor or something like that. But generally speaking, just as I was saying about the fact that though you have to press a little bit more buttons, let's say for example if you play Purifier while leveling, this does not mean that this class is that hard to level up. You just have to utilize more buttons and you have to rely on pets a little bit more than others. And just in general, Conjurer is fairly beginner-friendly class. class that can kite, class that can heal a lot. I don't know if I can say this about Conjurer with that is running around with pets, because for the most part it's pets who are going to do work for you. But if you are going without pets and you are going for more dots, I'm going to show it to you. If you go without okay, I gotta kill the enemies so that I will be able to show it to you. Basically another way, it's another way how you can build Conjure. A way that is going to be relying more on running around while debuffing and applying dots on your enemies. Okay, done with those, so let me show. Another way to build Shaman plus Occultist, which is named, like the combination is named Conjurer. There are two ways for you to do so. It depends on whether or not you want to run around with a two-handed weapon, or you want to go with a caster weapon, and basically is something like offhand and main hand and offhand, like some caster stuff. But if you want to go, I can speak about stuff that I've done when I was playing Conjurer with two-handed. You can go with pretty much your Devouring Swarm. You need the Grasping Vines modification for it. You also need that aura, though you kind of don't really max it out. Your main damaging abilities will be, of course, your dots, which are your Swarm, Vines. You go with Wendigo Totem, with Blood Pact. You also go with Storm Totem, with lightning damage converted to Vitality, since for the most part you will be doing Vitality damage anyway, so it's a good addition. Plus, it's another source of damage that you just put on the place. It does work for you while you can do whatever you want. You can run around, you can stay in place. As long as it hits, you are staying alive and enemies are dying, which is a great thing for those who prefer this kind of gameplay where dots are doing work for you. So even if you get stunned or you get debuffed on minus chance to hit, your dots are still going to do work for you. Plus, if you are using two-handed weapon, you can go with putting some points into savagery, and primarily the thing that interests us is going to be tenacity of the boar. It's going to give you offense and defense ability, which is fairly good. You just stack this thing up by auto-attacking a bit, applying those stacks, and then it depends on the situation. Either you continue to attack while reapplying dots and debuffs, or you just apply those dots and debuffs and run around while keeping stacks from your savagery. Of course, Occultist does well with Shaman on Vitality because of his debuffs Curse of Frailty, amazing stuff. Sigil of Consumption, amazing if you are going to look for extra way of sustain. And while also doing a little bit more damage against your targets. Blood of Dreek, out of questions. With Blood of Dreek you can basically throw away everything that you have for poison resist, because maxed out Blood of Dreek is going to give you something like 80 to 90% of poison resist, which means that you can neglect poison acid resist and pick something else instead of it. But just make sure that it's going to be up all the time, because without it your poison acid resist will gonna go straight to 0 if you don't have any on your gear. Bloody Pox can also be used, but for the most part it's just another source of dot damage. And that's pretty much it. Solar Switchfire just for your aura on your weapon, and that's about it when it comes to like skill. It's brief and not into like specifics like how many points you put in there, but that's just general skills that you'll be using when playing Conjurer without pets and with a two-handed weapon. And it's fairly... it's going to be a build that is going to carry you through a lot of situations, because you simply will going to be able to survive in those places where others would not. Plus, you are not like tied to standing on place. One thing that I didn't really like about Purifier, and I will going to express it in the video as well, is, well, you have to do damage and to survive you have to stand in one place, but Grim Dawn is built in such a way where this is not really an option, especially if we are speaking from the points of endlessly stacking debuffs and pools. Damage and debuffs are going to stack to such amount where you will not going to be able to just stand in one place and you would have to move away. But not all range classes are capable of successfully kiting. Not all of them. Conjurer is one of them, because dots, of course. You press some buttons, dots and debuffs are on your enemies, and that's about it. You don't need to do anything else, just run around, kite them, and have fun. Have fun with them dying slowly, and you maintaining full health pretty much most of your time. I'm doing this like that, so I'm putting 2 points in here and 1 in here. My thought process is I gotta max out those 2 abilities for my Briar turn, so I absolutely have to do that. But I also have to get myself Hellhound. That's another pet. I have to get Storm Spirit, because it's an aura that will going to buff all of my pets. And then I have to get to make my pets tanky with the cultist, while also buffing their speed and offense. I have to get those two abilities. So from occultist, if you're going to open the build template that I'm using, from occultist we need a Dreek, and we will need Dreek Evil Eye for activation of one of our devotions. We will need Curse of Frailty for obvious reasons. It debuffs really great, like one of the most powerful debuff tools in the game. Blood of Dreek for healing, buffing, as well as keeping that poison acid resist high. What also we will need? We will need Aspect of the Guardian, probably also here, because of because it buffs offense more, while also buffing resistances. And Bounce of Bismael, as well as Manipulation for extra sustain, speed, and offense. With pets, you just go with Familiar, Storm Spirit, Summon Hellhound, and with Hellhound we just give it Amber Claw, and that's it. That's all the skills that we need from Occultist. We don't need anything more. That's just about it. On stream, this is my second character. Yes, my previous one was dual pistol fire elemental purifier. And off stream, I've played various different characters, but I played all of them on hardcore. Never managed to get anywhere past second difficulty. That's because, for the most part, I wasn't even using any kind of guides. And guides that I were using were kind of outdated. I didn't know a lot of stuff about the game. Meaningful stuff that is important. This is why you can actually say that legit stuff where I know what am I doing legitimately. That's the second character that I am leveling up. Purifier is fun, yes, especially if you like playing with ranged weapons. However, there are a bunch of unseen obstacles that you have to consider, one of which is going to be your late game gear is pretty much all random world drop, which means that either you get lucky and you will be able to get them quite fast, or you'll have to either trade with other players, or you're going to have to spend a bunch of time farming. Most of the builds are relying on having random world drop items in their builds. Purifier can get you through the campaign, that's for sure. He is simple to use because you do not have to press a bunch of buttons. Like, you have to pretty much... You see a pack of enemies, you put Inquisitor Seal beneath your foot, you put a bunch of Termite Mines to cut their resistances. You throw a flashbang into packs of enemies to lower their chance of hitting you, confuse some of them, and just shoot. That's pretty much it. Like, that's the kind of gameplay that class combination with dual pistol has in late game. While leveling is even more simple, because you don't really need to use that many skills. But at the same time, you just have to understand that while it's fun, it's easy to use, it's not the most beginner-friendly if we are speaking from gear perspective, because it's kind of hard to get like that many random world drop gear. Yes, you do. You do, because of the fact that Inquisitor Seal gives damage absorption, boost to your damage, as well as it's something that's just going to help you to withstand then some dangerous attacks. Now, it will not going to save you from everything. I literally have like way too many examples of when Inquisitor Seal will not going to save you, but you have to use it all the time, despite the fact that, like, despite all the minuses, you have to use it, because if you do not use it, you are losing a ton. For example, you will lose plus 30% damage against certain races, such as Ethereals, Chthonians, etc. And for the most part, I should say, like, it isn't only about Purifier. Every class that you combine with Inquisitor and that has the seal in its build, you will going to, for the most part, you will going to be standing in one place. That's just how classes with Inquisitor are working. You can move only like slightly from one direction into another, but most of your time you will be just standing in it. Examples of such class combinations with Inquisitor that kind of share the same gameplay aspect of standing in the seal are Infiltrator. Also, is there a combination of Arcanist with Inquisitor? A combination of Demolitionist, once again Purifier, but different kind of Purifier. Purifier on with Mortars also stands in there, in the seal. Then what other class is there? There is also combination of Soldier with Inquisitor, which is Tactician. Also stands in the seal. Pretty much like all of the classes whom you combine with Inquisitor, you just have to get used to that kind of pattern. The biggest downside of that is that you kinda tied to one spot, and because you are tied to just one spot, it's it puts you in a lot of danger. Because sometimes, a lot of times, you will going to get killed despite all of your defensive options that you have. And this is why I am kinda having more fun right now while playing Conjurer, is because I am not really tied to just standing in one place. I can move around, I can apply dots and damage over time effects on my enemies, and have much easier time of just running around if needed, because I will know exactly that while I am running, enemies are still slowly but surely fading away, and because of that, I also live. One thing that I should kind of tell is that even though both Purifier with dual pistol as well as Conjurer, they both have this principle of we live while we are attacking, there is a difference between those two. Biggest difference is Conjurer lives while he attacks, but he lives while he does damage over time effects, which means he can apply all of his stuff and just run around and still survive, because his health regen is going to never stop unless his debuffs and damage over time effects stopped working. When we are speaking about Inquisitor with Demolitionist, which is Purifier, he lives while doing damage, but he lives while doing damage standing still and attacking. And this is the biggest difference, and you will going to... Once you're going to get to like higher into the late game, you will definitely understand this, like, oh, how does all that stuff work. At the beginning it may not be that noticeable, however, the higher you go, especially in endgame dungeons, the more meaningful it becomes.
My inventory is full.
Yes, I am. I am leveling his skills, as well as putting at least like 1 point into occultist skill tree. Not the skill tree, but his mastery bar. Wait, there was bonus to all pets. 26% health. I can pass on it. Surprise, surprise, I'm not finding that many gear that would give attack speed for pets. Okay, this one is good, kinda, so I will keep it. Losing... See, it's good, but only good because I am playing Summoner, and I don't really care about losing a bit of my vitality damage. Because for the most part I should start to getting used to the fact that my pets are my weapon and not me personally. Me personally, I can throw a bunch of dots and that's just about it.
See you around. Come see what's left of my wares. Iron well spent.
Okay. I'll put a bunch of points here, like 2, once again 2 here, and 1 in the mastery bar.
Got something you need stashed.
For some more experienced players who are super familiar with how you level up Summoner, this stat distribution, not stat distribution, but skill distribution will going to make you cringe, but it's just my personal take, and I'm not really kind of encouraging you to do it like step by step like I am doing. Because I for sure do understand that the way how I currently level up skills is not the most efficient way possible, but I am never said that this is efficient. Okay, should we just go into the... I think we'll go into Steps of Torment. Yeah. Why not? We will clear it before proceeding like, somewhere else. Although, here's the thing about those like dungeons and the stuff that that is going to help you out if you are not really that fond of doing those skeleton key dungeons. So, especially in the first difficulty, here's the thing. The moment where you need to start actually like doing them is when Anasteria I'm going to open the map because I want to show to you like exact. So once you're going to reach Fort Icon, Anasteria here is going to give you a quest line. Basically, bring me item from from Steps of Torment. Bring me item from Port Valbury. And bring me item from Bastion of Chaos. This is the moment where you might want to go and do all those dungeons. Because otherwise you'd have to do them like twice. 2 times. One without a quest and another one with a quest. It really just depends on whether or not you want to do those dungeons 2 times, or you want to do them 1 time. And for the most part, as far as I remember, only for this dungeon you have 2 quests, if I'm not mistaken. Only in Steps of Torment you have 2 quests to complete. One is given to you by... Actually, no, not even 2. You get... the quest that I'm doing right now is... the quest to just kill boss that stands before you enter the Steps of Torment, and that's it. So yeah, technically you have no quest to do unless it's quests that are given to you by Anasteria. That's it. As you can see, white enemies and some yellow enemies die fairly quickly to that devouring swarm. So if you're gonna play something like that class that I'm currently playing, try to throw this stuff on your enemies. Yeah, basically the boss that guards entrance to the Skeleton Key dungeon. And I don't know if I'm going to do like Skeleton Key dungeon right now. I may do it, but with the current gear that I have, I'm risking to run into over-leveling issue when it comes to clearing other areas for the main campaign. Or maybe I will clear it. It depends. By the way, a little bit risky is the fact that I'm running at level 45 without any components on my gear. That's probably the biggest risk that I'm taking right now. Normally, at that point in time, I already have all of my items having at least some form of component in it, but mostly to maximize the resistances. And currently, as you can see, I'm not lacking in this department, which is my resistances to elemental. I'm lacking pretty much about stun, especially for new players. About stun resist. Up until you reach ultimate difficulty, which is the 3rd difficulty, you can neglect this this resistance no matter what kind of character you play. Even Gala across the mountain, which is a boss in Ashes of Melmoth's DLC, which has a fairly high stun chance, he will not going to give you any kind of problem, even if you're going to have 0% stun resist. Stun resist is super important when you are reaching late game, which is ultimate difficulty and everything like Shattered Realm, Crucible, and some of the Uber bosses. So here is the thing. You can neglect, you can think about it, this stat doesn't exist until ultimate difficulty. Technically it exists, but its value is super low for the first two difficulties. Everything else, try to keep it like at 70-80% plus. Overcap is also an option. But when it comes to stun, do not worry if you cannot cap it or overcap it. At least at the beginning it is totally okay. There are some enemies who are going to stun you, such as ethereal abominations, but for the most part it's meaningless. Okay, I want what I want. I want this, and I want 1 point in here. Yes. The entire gameplay that I am having right now and my game plan as a whole, every time a fight starts, so I'm going to put my healing totem, I'm going to run around and throw Devouring Swarm on as many enemies as I can to kill them fast and to help my pets, as well as to have a source of extra healing. Because, as you might not know about it, but even though you are playing Summoner, it doesn't actually mean that you're not going to get hit. No, you will get hit by AoE, some enemies will not going to aggro on your pets, because some enemies, interesting fact, some enemies are having 500% resist chance to being aggroed, so they are you will never going to be aggroing them. And some have fairly high, but still you can like aggro them because your aggro chance is going to be higher. But for the most part, we just want that extra survivability that we can get from our totem, as well as from healing by attacking enemies with Devouring Swarm. Summoning... I have an issue with summoning Primal Spirit because of the fact that it has insanely long cooldown. Well, its uptime is like 20 seconds, but its cooldown doesn't decrease when you level the skill up. So the cooldown that you have on level 1, which is cooldown of 33.2 seconds, remains like this even on max level, which is unfortunate thing, but for a pet that is that strong, for a pet that for the most part, is the source of most of your damage in this build. It would be kinda broken to have short uptime for this pet. It's later on when we will going to get items and stuff. The cooldown will be 4 seconds. So I believe like either 4 or 6 seconds that you will going to be running without it. But you will going to have, with proper gear, you will also going to have 2 of those like spiky pets that I'm currently using. So technically speaking, it's fair enough. Or I should say even more than fair enough. Oh, emissary. Let's see. I want. You are talking about this guy, yeah, emissary. So, thing is, you can speak to him even now, and he will going to take you to the second DLC. However, and no, you do not need to meet the specific requirement of clearing Ashes of Melmoth DLC first. You can speak to him even right now. He can get you to the second DLC, however, it is more reasonable to beat the main campaign first, then to clear the first DLC, and then to go into the second DLC. It's more or less like chronological order, and that's just about it. But he, like, you can speak to him even now. If you want. Though, I really would advise you to just clear the main campaign as well as the first DLC before you do that. You will be able to teleport back, and even if you do that, like teleport and continue on with your exploration of the other areas. Because this is like basically he will going to bring you here to the Conclave of the Tree. And from there there is going to be a teleport, and you can just TP back to whatever location you were before. So it's not the end of the world. Okay. Fair enough and fairly reasonable clear speed. Though I'd have to say clear speed gets a little bit slower, a little bit, like enemies are dying slower now. Oh, not all of them. Some of them. But that's also because of the fact that gear-wise, I can't really say that I'm having best time finding gear for that is going to boost my pets. The most dangerous attack of this boss is that attack that he used right now. Circle attack that flies all around him. This one will just going to stun you for the most part. It's not a problem, but the one that is the circle attack, that attack is very troublesome. It can... sometimes it can even one-shot you if you're not going to be... if you're going to be standing like too close without proper amount of resistances. Okay, got my level 47. This thing is maxed, which is nice. Let's do it like this. I want to have this thing, and what I also want to have this. Okay, so let's put pet attack on R. Let's place summon Hellhound on D, as well as Totem on Q, and this thing on W. Okay. For me, I'm totally okay with answering such questions. I'm totally okay with helping newbies to understand, to answer their questions. Because I totally get it that sometimes you will going to have something that you want to understand, and it's... if you can ask, why not ask? Alright. Unfortunately, nothing for pets. I mean, legit nothing. This one will going to help me out. In this book I will leave. And also we're going to change it when I will reach level 52. Okay. Couple more points into physique for extra tankiness. Book is going to be placed here, because we'll need all that inventory space. Now, do we have, like... Ether damage, pierce damage, all damage and health in chest. Armor. Okay. Let it be like that. We are lacking in pierce. Pierce resistance and shield. We need to go and check it out. Silk Swatch, I believe it was called. Pierce and bleed resistance. Shoulder, chest and leg. I will put it into shoulders and into legs. Okay. Resilient plating. Shields, caster offhands. Oh no, this is better. Because I do not... Okay. This one is going to be even better. Caster offhands, chest, shoulder... Shoulder and caster offhand. That's where 2 will go. And we need one more. One more for this.
Don't get killed out there.
So it's like this, this, as well as this. There you go. Already better than it was before. Not the best, but not the worst. I wanna check on what level do we get a new medal. Level 50. Okay. Level 50. What do we have for level 50? Something good. Yes. Yes, we have. Vitality. Only one for pets, which is still not for vitality damage. It's elemental, but it's still better than my, I guess. Where is it? Where is it again? Come on. There it was, and there it isn't. Yeah, there it is. Total speed, retaliation, bonus to cold damage, vitality resistance. Well, that's not really that good, I'd say. So, what do we have here? So, we are entering this dungeon and we are having more skills to press. Now we have another pet, and we also are having a new debuff, which is going to be super helpful. This Curse of Frailty is not going to have the biggest range when you apply it, but you have to apply it because of the amount of stat that this skill will use. By playing this class, you will also get to know how to play other versions of Conjurer, because for the most part they are kinda the same when it comes to what kind of skills will you be pressing. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them will be the same. Curse of Frailty, as well as Swarm, as well as Totem are present in the other builds as well. I have to pay attention on to the health of my pets right now. Now that there are a bunch of elites here, and I gotta run around. The reason why I'm running around is because I do not want to just simply stand here receiving damage. One thing that I also should have done since the beginning is use pet command attack. The reason why is that sometimes when there are a lot of enemies in here, your pets will going to attack everything. It's not efficient because there aren't that many pets to begin with. And I have to kill priority targets.
That skill's not ready.
Yeah, as you can see, pets died there like a whole bunch of times, but plus factor is we weren't focused that hard by enemies, and because we were using our debuffs as well as kiting techniques, it already shows you how tanky you can get by, and how longer will you able to survive if you not just stand in one place but move around. Just make sure that you not just aimlessly running around, but you run around strategically. You gotta have to learn how to do that. So that you not end up in between enemies, aggroing them on yourself, and because of that, suffering. Here I'm also going to show those, for those of you who do not know, a place where you can acquire your first ever legendary. See, they already broke the wall here. Gotta make sure that they attack Gargantua, because he resummons stuff, and that's an issue. So here you can find your first ever legendary that you will get. It's always the shield, and it's always there. You just break, you come here, you break a wall, you enter there, kill some enemies, and in one of those urns that I've destroyed, you'll get yourself that legendary shield. It will also going to show you that you can start equipping legendaries from level 50 up until, well, except for this thing. Except for those like items, and except for necklace that drops from the from Crate Entertainment secret boss, which unfortunately with my purifier build I will most likely not going to be able to beat this boss, because you have to have a kiting class that also specifies on single target damage, so that you will not get killed by minions that are sticking close to the boss. By the way, I completely kind of forgot that a stuff that I kinda want beginners to understand as well, and it is why would you want to use Grim Internal's modification when you are playing this game? You can play without it, but I'd say that you're going to have much easier time if you'd use it. First of all, that graph that you see here, it says like incoming DPS, physical, pierce, cold, fire, yada yada. Okay, that's very good for you to understand when you are being hit not by just one type of damage. This graph is going to show you with what kind of damage are you being hit with, and judging by that, you're gonna have a better time understanding where you're lacking at that particular moment. This graph is also going to show you a whole bunch of stuff about remaining time on your buffs. This thing will also going to show you can adjust it so that it would going to show you your offensive ability, defensive ability. Later on, those stats are going to be one of the most important ones when it comes to a stat check to see whether or not you are ready to tackle some more dangerous and more endgame locations. Offensive and defensive ability are just as important as your resistances. What also, this modification is going to allow you to see hell bars. For the most part, like, I like that it shows hell bars like this. Without it, you're not going to see that stuff, and this is, in my opinion, kind of bad, because some of locations can be pretty dark, and enemies are hard to detect on those locations. And this modification is also going to allow you to auto pick up green items, which is not really like it's. Most of people are not using that for auto pickup items. Most of players are using this modification for other reasons that I have already mentioned. Plus, as you can see with this modification, voila, you can see whether or not your debuffs are on the boss or not. Now, it will only show debuffs applied on elites and bosses, not on the regular enemies. But it's already kind of better than not having this stuff to begin with. To me, I just find it that it has just way too many of those quality of life improvements that can help you along the way. Easy to install, easy to use, and very helpful. It may seem like an advertisement for a product, but technically it actually isn't. It's just me trying to express you just why would you want to use it. You can play like with and without it and just see the difference yourself. Option is always there. But just in general, I don't really see a reason why not to use it. Really helpful tool that just gives way too much additional information that is definitely helpful. Hellhound gets blown up so fast, but thing is, Hellhound doesn't even do anything. The use of this pad is fairly limited. See, it just dies way too fast. I don't like this position at all. Can we, like, get me out of here or something? That's what I was saying when I mentioned proper positioning and not just running into nothing. I almost died there. What kind of gun? This one? You mean this one? With frost? When I will going to finish with this dungeon, I can give it to you if you want. By utilizing the online, not online, but multiplayer thing. Okay. So much pads, so much buttons to use. However, if you are going to get familiar, with this whole process of skill rotations and applying debuffs and other kind of kiting methods, it will going to help you a whole lot on other characters as well. And the reason why I went for this modifier is, of course, for minus resistances and minus defensive ability. Super helpful as a debuff, having like that much on it. Literally, it is amazing for this class to have this kind of debuff. Boss of this dungeon is going to be a little bit of a pain to deal with, because he likes to go invisible and pops up only when he is close to you, and he also likes to freeze your character on the spot. I figured out that for the most part he is dangerous mostly on the first difficulty and catches you off guard with how much stuff he can do. Because when I was playing on second difficulty, on Elite, he isn't that dangerous as he is on this one. I'm talking about Alchemist.
That's lost.
Thing that I find a bit difficult about playing Summoner in general is it has to deal with gearing process. You would assume that what is difficult about gearing up Summoner, and you just pick stuff that boosts your pet's stats and that's it. But in reality, it really isn't like that, because of the fact that, just as I said before, you have to also make sure that you yourself are going to have stuff like resistances. And there it is, like, there lies the problem, to be able to get such gear that is going to boost both you and your pets.
I can't carry anymore. Inventory is full.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Especially if utilizing, as I said, like, because I'm utilizing Lokarr set and experience, it's even worse because the stuff that I can change is pretty much main hand, off hand, amulets, gloves, pants, belt, medal, and relic, and that's it. Hidden problems. But I definitely am seeing, like, despite not having that much gear for my pets, they're still doing fairly decent job. Later on, yeah, later on for sure, there will be more options to choose from, especially something that is going to lower the amount of time that I'm running around without my primal spirits. When my primal spirit ability is on cooldown. That's for sure. But for now, I'm kinda okay. Kinda okay, and I definitely am enjoying this class. One thing I also kinda like, that's mostly, I guess it's kinda class specific, I should say. Well, despite not having that much armor on those things, still being able to survive fairly decently, although I'm making sure that I debuff my targets and not position myself in a way that will going to kill me for sure. And that's why I genuinely just like Conjurer as a class, because of how many ways of healing he has. Healing and debuffs. Oh, we have a raid going on. Why, thank you. Welcome everyone to the stream. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully you're doing great today. Appreciate all of you coming on this stream. Not much action going on because it's kind of a leveling process, but still. And thank you for the following. Very appreciating this fact. Oh, and sorry, my Streamlabs chatbot has a little bit of an issue when it comes to emotes and stuff. It's not just only about occultist, but also with how well it synergizes for vitality builds, how well it synergizes with shaman. Plus, I really cannot neglect on how well the playstyle of just debuff your enemies as well as like apply some damage over times on them, like how well it helps when it comes to survivability. My previous character was a purifier, dual wield with 2 pistols, and what I mean is that not being tied to just standing in one place is definitely a good thing to have. Can't say how well it's going to be in the late game, but for now it works. Might I ask with what kind of class combination have you decided to go with? Necro-occultist, another very good summoner build. I like Necromancer because he has like strength in numbers, and for the most part, like, his strong point is, of course, that, yeah, he has more pets, and they will going to do more they will going to be more offensive and less defensive. But overall, another strong class. Strong and fairly interesting to play with. Oh, you're playing on hardcore. Nice. My initial playthroughs that I was doing in this game, like even before I started to stream, were on hardcore. Kinda couldn't get on hardcore past second DLC on the second difficulty. But then again, back in the day, I wasn't really like playing by utilizing any sort of guides or anything like that. I was just trying to create something on my own.
That skill's not ready.
Yeah, Alchemist has some fairly decent way of destroying pets, but that's mostly because of this, like his ice pool that he casts really hurts them. So maybe not just maybe, I will going to change my strategy of taking my pets to a different position. Unfortunately, he's not re-aggroing on my pets. Okay, come on now.
That skill's not ready.
He is only difficult. The thing is, he's only difficult. Oh, nice position for my Hellhound summoning. He got stuck behind the bars. Okay. Really unlucky. Nice.
My inventory is full. My inventory is full.
There is... Basically, there is... as far as I understood, there is... Enemies have a chance to resist being aggroed, and you on your pets are you have a chance to generate some form of an aggro, and in case if enemy has higher aggro resist than your pets have aggro chance, you will not going to be able to aggro those enemies. Some enemies are having something like 500% chance to ignore any kind of aggro that comes from your pets, which means that they will always going to run after you. That's how I understand the whole like idea with why they sometimes will just completely ignore all of your pets and just start running around chasing you. Bonus to all pets. I want that bonus to all pets. Wear those gloves. And that's just about it. Yeah. So yes, aggro in this game can be ignored, negated by how much aggro resistance the enemy has.
Come see what's left of my wares.
On Necromancer, one of the strongest pet that can aggro enemies onto him is actually Gargantua. With his, I believe he has like this explosion ability, massive hit that's AoE hits that aggroes are aggroing enemies onto him. Oh, so far for this build, as far as if I understood the build templates correctly, this build is focused around vitality and bleeding damage on pets. So for the most part, I will be looking for attack speed plus vitality damage plus health, as well as some form of resistances. Resistances are going to be like super important later on in the game. I'm just having this feeling like if it's the same thought process like any other character, it's going to be like the later you go, resistances are becoming more and more important. Thank you everyone who have been utilizing the option to follow this channel. I appreciate your support and your interest. Welcome everyone, welcome to the stream. Hopefully you will going to enjoy it. And we'll find something new, something interesting that you didn't know about. And yeah, I was saying also about the fact that for someone, if he's looking for a fairly beginner-friendly character for this game that can carry him like quite decently far, as well as quite beefy when it comes to defense and survivability, Conjurer all the way. There are other classes, but Conjurer, and don't get fooled by the fact that you need to press way too many buttons. Yeah, like somewhat micro control, you have to have a little bit of that, but it's not that bad. And most certainly there is a huge payoff on the other side with Conjurer. There's a bunch of stuff you can play this game with. And a lot of times it just depends on your personal preferences, but there are most certainly a bunch of beginner-friendly classes. Conjurer, I'd say Death Knight on Force Wave is also one of such classes that will not going to challenge you when it comes to how hard it is to play or how hard it is to get certain items. Like Krieg said that he uses is farmable easily, and not only that, it is target farmable. So it's not like you are searching for a gear that is world drop and can drop from pretty much anywhere. Yeah, like even Summoner right now, my Summoner has a lot of buttons to press, but I would say that it's still good to be able to learn how to play something that also requires a little bit extra effort when it comes to maintaining those debuffs on enemies and damage over times, damage over time effects. Because this way you will also going to learn more about how to play a more complex character. But it most certainly is a lot of fun. A lot of fun to play, and definitely you will going to see benefits of learning. So don't be discouraged just because, oh, there is a lot of stuff that you have to press. Look at the positive. You get to have a character that can kite pretty decently, as well as survive in a lot of situations because of a huge amount of healing that you get. But I guess, like, going back to the topic of stats for pets, I kinda think that health, resistances, as well as profile damage and attack speed are super important. And they're just something to look for when it comes to gear and stuff. And I would even go as far as to say for Necromancer, it is good to have a little bit more health on items for pets, just because of the fact that his skeletons are... They already do quite a lot of damage, it's just keeping them alive matters as well. Like, you're not going to be able to keep them alive always, but to keep them alive for a little bit more is kinda a thing. But that's just my assumption. I might be wrong on that. Okay, more points. More points here and one in here. Because we gotta make sure that this is maxed out, and when this is maxed out, we're just going to put most of the points after that in occultist skill tree to get ourselves Blood of Drake, to get the Storm Spirit, Ember Claw, and then kind of rushing to Bounce of Bismel and Manipulation for extra attack speed as well as extra health on our pets. Full to Vitality. Oh, this is even better than mine. Nice. I would have changed the scepter, but I will not, mostly because of the fact that I'm losing a lot of bonuses to and profile bonuses to my pets. This is kind of a huge downside. And I'm still waiting when I will finally get access to gear that is going to shorten the downtime cooldown that I have when I'm using the... Currently, when I'm casting my Primal Spirit, I have... It lives for 20 seconds and then like 13 more seconds I have to live without it somehow. Later on with gear, it goes down to like 4 to 6 seconds or so that you run around without this pet. But for now it is what it is. Also, I want to elaborate a little bit more on pet attack commands and why, in general, it is kind of important to get used to that command. Stuff that leaves after they die or after they attack. I'm talking about those void zones that enemies are leaving after they die, or something like when they shoot, they leave stuff on the ground. This stuff, at least while leveling, you can just press one button, they will going to move away in a different direction. Or if you want to focus some important target down, like a healer or a summoner, and your pets sometimes will going to attack like everything that they see, but not the target that you would want to attack. So just press one button and order them to attack the desired target. And don't wait for them to just start attacking that target by themselves whenever they feel like it. I was also kind of saying that no matter what kind of conjure type you will going to go with, whether it be summoner or damage over time with the usage of grasping vines, lightning totem, and other debuffs, it will going to still teach you a lot about your class in general and how your dots work, how your debuffs work, and all that kind of stuff. It definitely helps. Helps to understand the class better and not to just play on autopilot. By the way, I'm having a bunch of devotion stuff that I forgot to distribute. Next stuff here is going to be Shepherd's Crook. For reason why is get a bunch of resistances and health for pets. And the last thing is going to give them a boost to their offense. Basically a little bit of everything at the same time. Definitely useful, definitely will going to be used quite often. My guess is that on initial leveling, Necromancer has a strong edge over the Conjurer when it comes to how fast he kills, over Conjure Summoner when it comes to how fast it kills stuff. Because you get to have way more sources of damage considering how much skeletons you actually have. And especially if you get a good combination of skeletons. I'm talking about if you will RNG a bit and summon a bunch of skeleton mages or skeleton knights. They will going to tear apart enemies super fast. Plus, just in general, Necromancer has like the bigger group of summons that he has with him. And probably the biggest downside is trying to move them around in such way so that they would not stand in too much AoE. Skeletons are fragile. Powerful as hell, but fragile. Gotta make sure not to stand close to burning that. Because those foes by themselves will not going to do a lot, but when they die and explode, then you're going to feel it. By the way, that's the first time I haven't, like, haven't put a lot of emphasis on that, but for the most part, that's the first time I actually have managed to find this amulet. What is interesting about it is mostly the fact that I like how this virulent pox works. It's kind of a bloody pox from occultist, but it works from an item, which is interesting enough. And this is why you get to see a lot of those enemies being like all debuffed and stuff, like with red things on them. It comes also not only from my Devouring Swarm and from my Curse of Frailty, but from that amulet as well. I will going to change it later on when I will find something more useful. But for now it does its job fairly good enough. Currently, because nothing like super tension packed is happening, I guess we can kinda not discuss, but it's going to be more of a question towards viewers. How did you get to know about this game? Like, because I see more and more new people are judging by what you are saying. More and more people are coming into this game, like discover it for yourself. How did you get to know about it? Like from videos, or maybe from someone told you about it, or something like that? Undergrowth then? Let me see. Undergrowth then. I think you are referring towards... you are referring towards the quest that you need... Not the quest, but... Isn't this the place from where you get to... Dungeon where McDragon stands near it and gives you the quest? Isn't it? Isn't it this place? I might be wrong. No, oh, okay. The undergrowth. It can be found in 3 different locations. I see now. Okay. I'm going to post a link in Streamlabs chat. Basically, it's going to... on the second screen. It's going to show you like it has like marked locations for undergrowth entrance. It can be found in 3 different locations, and it's kinda random where they are being spawned each time. But this should give you like in general idea where to search for the entrance. Alrighty. Oh boy. My pleasure. I know that sometimes for some quests, like it's a bit problematic to find exact spot. Like there will be a quest where you're going to have to find certain enemies. Some of them also have random places where they spawn. Luckily, there aren't that many quests in this game where you would have to like search for a specific unmarked place on the map. There are some, but not that many. The thing that you already kind of see from me playing this particular class is pretty much all of the spells that I have leveled up. I am using pretty much all of them. Like, pretty much every single one of them is going to be used. For some, this may be a downside, because it will require some button pressing.
Well, if it isn't by old,
But in general, I'd say it's not that bad. As I said, you are getting a good payoff for doing that. A fairly decent payoff. I completely forgot to also finish that quest. I'm kind of autopiloting a bit, but at the same time I'm also trying to elaborate on some interesting stuff that will going to be helpful for viewers. For the most part, I should also say like one small but important thing. All the quests that are going to give you like stat points as well as skill points, make sure you do not miss them. In case you miss them, you can basically search Grim Dawn skill or stat point quests and see what quests are going to give to you those points. Those points are fairly important to have, like extra stuff, little by little, but it's like adds into a much bigger like end game picture that you're going to aim for. So make sure you do not miss them. It's fairly hard to miss them actually, especially if you are going with without skipping second difficulty. It's hard to miss, but there are instances where you might miss them. Whether you didn't pay it enough attention or just miss it, it can happen. Also, when you are playing such class like Conjurer, or in general, the stuff that has damage over time or timed debuffs, make sure that you keep in mind their duration. For almost like 100% uptime, so that you would know like when to recast your stuff and to do it efficiently, and not to recast it like over and over again just because, well, you kind of mistimed it. Debuffs are very powerful in this game for your character as well as for the enemies. Here's the thing, like, if you are playing something that is an auto-attacker, okay, right? You are playing an auto-attacker. There is going to be one particular debuff that kind of makes it hard to pass by debuff casted by enemies, and that is by certain enemies or by certain like bosses. It's a debuff that makes you whiff attacks, miss them, or to like something that will going to either lower the amount of damage that you are doing from those attacks or missing them entirely. For a class that is also going to revolve around healing from attacking, this is even more noticeable. Because then you will immediately stop healing because you are missing attacks, and you can die because of it. Happened to me a lot of times on my... primarily my late game experience with Purifier. To put it simply, for something that revolves around auto-attacking, it's extremely noticeable. I will also going to try and elaborate more on why I said that stun resist is not that important up until you get to ultimate difficulty. First things first, there aren't many enemies that will going to stun you, and even those who will going to do at those particular like first, second difficulty will not going to be stunning you for a very long time. They are going to stun you for a little bit, and for the most part you can just close your eyes on that for the time being. But once you're going to get like higher, the higher you go when it comes to difficulty and progression, be prepared to change your playstyle entirely. Because something that was not needed at the beginning is going to become pretty much needed later on. And even up to the point where the death or the survivability of your character will going to depend on those like particular aspects. For example, like with Purifier, I had, when my stun resist went down to 0, and as I was fighting Iron Maiden, this is like probably the worst thing that can happen, because she was just stun after stun after stun. And it's fairly annoying. Like when it's one-on-one fight, okay, like it's kinda manageable. Though it's hard, it's still manageable. When it's a fight 2 against 1, being stunned there means getting killed. Not just being stunned, but being stunned for long as well. Because in late game, reduce not only like chance of being crowd control, but reduce the time you spent in being crowd control is such a huge thing. Just keep that in mind for now, even if you are not there yet. I don't know how hard this aspect will going to hurt Summoner, because for the most part, I'm going to also show it to you. So here we are, like, if we want to look at our pet bonuses that we have, which by the way, those are separate from this whole stuff is separate from this. So as you can see, they have their own resistances, which means that all the stuff that I have that comes from here, like 30 poison acid resistances, 23 elemental, reduced stun duration. This doesn't work with this, like it's a separate thing. This goes up with buffs, with auras, as well as with items that are something like that, that says bonus to all pets. So it doesn't says here anywhere like resist to stun. No, I don't see the crowd control resist here, which makes me somehow want to believe that you cannot protect them from being crowd control, or they just in general cannot be crowd controlled by stuns, freeze, etc. Might be wrong on that, because I don't see it anywhere here. But as you can clearly see, the biggest issue is going to be figuring out, while leveling, figuring out what kind of gear am I going to be using that will going to give me not only protection, for the most part protection, but will also going to boost my pet's defensive, offensive abilities. Okay, 12. Yeah, and starting from level 50 and beyond, up to level, I forgot, like, is it level 90 or 85 where you are starting to get like 1 point, skill point per level? But basically from level 50 and above you get not 3 skill points but 2. So on next level this thing is going to be maxed out and we will going to rush our Occultist Mastery Bar to grab ourselves much needed Blood of Dreek. Yes, because we are still at 40% poison resist. With this thing we will gonna go above and beyond. And with this though, with this thing gives defense to poison and acid. So much that we will be able to just close our eyes on not having any poison acid resist on our gear whatsoever. Because all of our poison acid resist is going to be coming from this modification, pedal to the metal, so to say, like, max this thing up and you're going to get insane amount of poison resist. Not only for you, but for your pets as well, which is something that you have to understand. Auras are increasing your pets' stats as well. I'm speaking today like about a whole bunch of mechanics. I know it's a lot of information. I should give it like in portions, I'd say. So that it will not going to overflow minds of the unprepared. But I'd say it's all basic information. I'm not diving into specific details.
My inventory is full.
I'm trying to keep it to ground up level. Because complex stuff, a lot of it I cannot say that I understand it myself perfectly. But with what I am understanding, I am going to elaborate on it. Those are not bad items. It's just that not to me, I'm not the one doing the work here. I'm relying on my pets doing that for me. And personally, I'm a support summoner. Offhand, it requires a whole ton of spirits. No, thank you. Chaos resist, ether resist, and offensive ability. No. Okay. And by the way, we're level 50, but the relic that we can craft is not really that good comparing to the one that we have. So we might skip a level 50 relic and just wait till we get to the next tier relic. For some classes, I should say, for some classes, not having up-to-date level relic, level 50 relic I mean, is kinda okay. Especially if you do not have something that is going to be better than the stuff that you already have. I'm really liking those Swarm and Curse of Frailty is just amazing when it comes to like what they do. I wouldn't lie if I'd say it's probably one of the best stuff when it comes to debuffing your enemies. And it's even so good despite the fact that I literally put 1 point here, and 1 point here. And it already feels super useful. So we are going to reach our destination, which is Homestead, and judging by the time on that note, we will going to stop our today's stream. We've done a lot and we've discussed a whole bunch of stuff about that is concerning not only my character but also other characters as well, just in general questions. Fairly good. Really like that interaction with the viewers. And remember that in case you are having questions that you want to ask, in case if you are willing to know more, there are ways for you to ask. You can ask here, ask on social media, ask on YouTube, which I encourage you to do if you are liking some, if you want to see some beginner-friendly content for Grim Dawn. On our YouTube channel there are a bunch of videos for you to watch, and either there or in those videos that I post with which are basically unedited stream segments that you can see right now. You can write in comment section your questions, what do you want to know, and I will be able to answer you those questions there in case something. It's free, no one is charging you anything for asking. Okay, I'm going there to check that place first and then this way. Okay. I'm approaching area where ether resist is going to, like, segment of the game where ether resist is going to play a huge role, as well as pierce resist. Because as you can see, those snipers that are also throwing some kind of ether grenades, as well as a whole bunch of ether enemies. This is a bit of a problem. Especially it's going to become even more noticeable once I'm going to go and fight, go to Port Valbury. Once I'm going to go to bring back cannons, as well as in other segments with a lot of ethereals. Hopefully I will find a way to pump up those resists, because there are plenty of ways for me to do so. But that is going to be a plan for the next stream.
These are...
Let's sell the needed stuff. Grab some lore notes. for extra experience and for knowing something more about lore of this game. We've done a lot of progress today.
Good work.
A lot of progress, and we are starting to get more and more accustomed to how this class plays. The more you get to press those buttons,
I wish I'm going to check.
like Curse of Frailty or Devouring Swarm or your Totem, and you know like in what pattern to use them, how to use them, when to use them, how to approach battles, all of that is going to add up to the point where you're going to feel it's gonna feel natural, you know, like just making sure that you repeat this action over and over again up till it gets to your brain, muscle memory, and all that kind of stuff. It just looks complex. Clearly it isn't, and it's just about practice. More practice, easier it gets. Okay, on that particular note, I'm going to be closing this stream session up. If you have missed this part of the stream, or you want to revisit other parts of my Purifier walkthrough series, or the previous part of Conjurer walkthrough series, you can do this, as well as watch some other videos that we are making, beginner-friendly content for Grim Dawn on our YouTube channel. Link to the channel is provided in Twitch tab section. Make sure you check it out. Make sure to ask questions in case you will have any. Comment section is limitless. Ask them, and we will surely going to answer them. Okay, what is also? Yes, links to social medias are also present there, and you can use like follow us on social medias to receive information firsthand, to know exactly what our plans are, and as another way to ask questions in case you will have any. Another thing is schedule, in case you want to know when I stream or my brother streams. Schedule is present in Twitch tab section as well. If you want to know what kind of build I'm using, what kind of endgame version of this build is, !build is going to bring you to a Grim Tools link, !devotion is going to bring you to a website where I found this build, with a more detailed explanation about devotion leveling, as well as with some videos showcasing the performance of the build. I can kinda trust this build maker, sort of, because this build comes from the person who already who created different builds before, and with one of his builds, Purifier, Fire Elemental with dual pistols, I already played before, so I kinda can trust him on the fact that those builds at least work, and they are capable of doing what they are promised to. Now, what other things? If you want to support this channel, there are many ways for you to do so, one of which spread the word and it will bring more people, more fun, more entertainment, more engagement in the chat, and so on and so forth. Another thing is, of course, if you like, you can subscribe by using Twitch Prime or regular Twitch subscription. Receive yourself emotes, icons, as well as many other bonuses such as collectibles for different games in case you are going to go with Twitch Prime. You can also use Patreon. Patreon will going to give you even more stuff as a bonus, mentioning your name in edited videos, as well as receiving content ahead of schedules, Q&A sections, as well as other stuff in it as well. Options are there. It's just for you to decide whether or not to use them or to just remain with what you have right now. All of those funds are going to go straight into improving visual quality and other aspects of streams, of edited videos, as well as they are a huge motivation for us to create content, as well as to provide players with more interesting and very much needed beginner-friendly stuff that can help others to better understand the game that they are playing and to make sure that the questions that they have are going to be answered in the most elaborate and most straightforward way possible. Anyway, I'd like to thank everyone who have been participating in this stream. I really enjoyed the fact that a lot of people have followed me today and have asked questions, shared their opinions, as well as participated in the chat discussion. I'm wishing you all the best. I will be waiting each and every one of you on the next stream, and most definitely I am wishing you a lot of health, a lot of luck, and a lot of success in the future. Have a great weekend, guys, and until next time.